Welcome back, my Detroit Lions fans. I am pumped. It is Friday. I'm going to get you guys ready for the weekend. Hopefully you guys have some nice plans, some barbecue, hanging out with the family, some fires, some pontooning, playing some euchre, whatever you're doing in the state of Michigan, or if you're out of Michigan, whatever you guys are doing on the weekends, do it safely. I can't wait for the weekend. Weekend means it's one day closer to Detroit Lions football. That's how I look at my days. Real fun story, kind of a interesting story. My wife has been watching that absolute trash show on Netflix about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And I was sitting there playing on my phone. It's in the background. I'm watching, casually looking up, and I'm not like diving into it. They're getting to the Dallas Cowboys game around Christmas time, and I get up and I say, I got to go. I know we're getting to that Detroit Lions game against the Cowboys last year, and I just can't put myself through that. I excused myself. I had to come up to my den, do some Detroit Lions talk. What I'm going to be talking about today is this Detroit Lions defense. Let me just ask you guys a question real quick. Can you name a team this past offseason who has added more starters? I count 5 starters for the Detroit Lions on just the defensive side of the ball. Is there a team out there who has added more starters on one side of the football this offseason than the Detroit Lions? Leave it in the comments. I don't think there is. Not saying there isn't. I just haven't broken down every team's roster. I'm looking at guys for the Lions: Carlton Davis in a trade, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Amik Robertson. There's 4, depending on what package we're in secondary-wise, there's at least 3 starters there with the nickel position. Brian Branch moving to safety. There's at least 3 starters there. Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader being the other 2 I'm counting, for a total of 5. We're looking at 5 starters, 6 really, really, really strong players who are going to get really, really considerable amounts of playing time. Is there a team out there that has added more depth than the Detroit Lions? I don't think so. I don't think there is. My philosophy, I should say, I'm going to be using the word philosophy a lot today. I don't know why. I just kind of going with the flow of the show. I'm going to use it again later. I have it in my notes. Last year, it was very, very nice for the first time in a long time to be able to say, man, it's a Sunday, a Monday, a Thursday, Saturday, whatever day the Detroit Lions are playing football. It was nice to say that we're going to go out today and we're going to get this win. As the season kind of progressed, it kind of became for me anyway, and I don't think I'm pessimistic, but maybe this is kind of a pessimistic mindset, and I can understand it. That kind of switched to the Detroit Lions are going to win today if the defense plays good. It kind of became that like a crutch. I don't mean that in a bad way, because we won a lot of games. We won the division. We won 2 playoff games. We dominated the first half of the NFC Championship game. Second half, not so much. But the defense was there at times. How do we go about getting rid of that if? Well, you do what Brad Holmes did. Add 5 defensive starters, add a lot of depth, shore up your offensive line, get ready for some breakout players for like Jameson Williams, Donovan Peoples-Jones. But in this episode, we're purely talking defense, because I feel like that is going to be the Achilles heel. And at the end of this episode, I got a little bit of a hot take. Maybe it's not exactly like a scolding hot take, but I've been kind of teetering on how I want to rank this Detroit Lions defense. So I'm going to share that at the end of the episode. Don't miss it. Stick around. Let's talk real quick. I'm not going to go into full details because I have another episode planned, but I'm going to talk about Aaron Glenn. Philosophy. What's Aaron Glenn's philosophy on defense? What does he want to do? He wants his corners to be able to play press man coverage. In my opinion, probably the hardest assignment for a corner is to line up face-to-face with a receiver who's probably, we're looking at receivers who are just absolutely becoming like freak athletes. They already have been, but they're just getting faster, bigger, stronger, catching more, catching everything, catching in traffic. It's insane. Asking a corner to come up and press coverage, face mask to face mask, without having any idea of what that receiver is going to be running. Now, sometimes you have a pretty good idea with route concepts, down and distance, where you are at on the field. Corners are smart. They know exactly, or not exactly, they know, have a good idea of what type of route trees that these wide receivers can run in certain scenarios. It's all about game film, knowledge. It's a lot. So they have an idea, but to line up right across from a wide receiver and to have to mirror him without for sure 100% knowing what he's doing, and not biting on a double move in press man coverage is incredibly difficult. Zone coverage, obviously you're just kind of defending your responsibility, your zone on the field. That press man coverage is what Aaron Glenn really wants his corners to do. So here's another question for you guys. Has Aaron Glenn ever had one corner who can truly play press man coverage since he's been with the Detroit Lions? I don't think he has. We kind of was hoping Cam Sutton would be that guy. Cam Sutton was more shaped to be a cornerback 2 for the Detroit Lions, but we were asking him to be cornerback 1. And at times he looked really good. We didn't have to talk about Cam Sutton a whole lot last year until he kind of got a little exposed at the end of the season against some of the elite of the elites, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. You guys know the names that we played down the stretch. Cam Sutton did get exposed. He was more of a cornerback 2. Now with Carlton Davis in town, man, I love his confidence. He's exactly what Aaron Glenn wants his corners to be. Sticky press man coverage, all pros. This is a Super Bowl winner. Like, this guy has championship caliber pedigree. Like, he was a number 1 corner on the defense that dominated Patrick Mahomes. Does that not open up some eyes? Like, he was on that Tampa Bay defense where Patrick Mahomes was running for his life that entire game. And I get it. The defensive line has something to do with that. We're going to talk about that in just a second, that defensive line. So has Aaron Glenn had one corner since he's been with the Detroit Lions coaching staff that could play that type of coverage? No. I think he might have 2 now. You got Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold. He's going to be playing that other cornerback position opposite of Carlton Davis. So Aaron Glenn, you've had some heat on you. I've given you some heat. I think this is a high-pressure year for you as well. Your name's out there. And I love the fact that he is so respected amongst the league, amongst the players and other coaches, that he was voted a guy that everyone wants to play for, that being Aaron Glenn. So not one corner who can play press man coverage, but we possibly have 2. And then we got Brian Branch. If the team decides to keep him at nickel, we got the best nickel corner in the league. If he switches to safety, I think he's going to thrive there as well. So our secondary is looking absolutely loaded. And I've been a little skeptical. I've been saying for a long time, paper has to translate to field, but my confidence is growing, and we're not even practicing yet. We're not even practicing. There's really nothing even going on with the Detroit Lions right now. And I'm still just growing my confidence. And maybe that means something to you guys. Maybe it doesn't, but I'm getting more and more excited. So that's my little snippet on Aaron Glenn. I think he's got a big year in for him. A lot of pressure. Brad Holmes, we've talked about how Brad Holmes is not really giving Aaron Glenn the help like he has a Ben Johnson with drafting a lot of offensive players or offensive line. This past offseason and the NFL draft was heavily favored toward the defense, I would say. And I'm not going to say that Aaron Glenn shouldn't feel a little pressure this year. But again, I'm going to dive more into that in a later episode where I'm focused on the defense again, probably closer to training camp. Another name I want to mention, and I keep mentioning, you can't talk defense with Detroit Lions and not mention Terrell Williams. I know I've said his name I think the last 5 episodes, but he is literally going to be, in my opinion, probably the most underrated aspect of this Detroit Lions team, because I talked about that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line and how they just absolutely smothered Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl a few years ago. Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport, James Houston, and real quick about James Houston too, if you guys don't know who Brian Baldinger is from NFL Films, he did a really great, it was just a quick little breakdown on Twitter. If you go to their YouTube page, I don't know what exactly their channel is called, but I did retweet the short clip that he posted on Twitter. If you guys want to go to our page and check that out, he was showing some clips of James Houston. And man, if James Houston really is that dude, if he really is that problem, like, this defense is going to be absolutely unstoppable. If we're getting pass rush from the middle, the left edge, the right edge, the safety position, maybe Jack Campbell's getting his hands wet a little bit. Like, if we got pressures just coming from everywhere, this defense is going to be absolutely dominant. I can't wait to see it. So Terrell Williams, you can't talk about Detroit Lions without mentioning his name. He's literally going to be the biggest key to this defense. This Detroit Lions defensive line, if they can get after quarterbacks and make their lives a living hell, and on top of that, we got those 2 corners I was talking about with Davis and Arnold locking down, being sticky number 1 corners in their own respects. Man, I just can't wait for football. I just need it to be here now. The Tigers are just letting me down. I need to just hibernate through the summer, like I said the other day, but I can't. I got to get on here. I got to talk some Detroit Lions football. So there's my episode for the day, guys. Can we get rid of that if factor of the Detroit Lions win and get rid of that if the Detroit Lions defense plays well? Let me know what you think about Terrell Williams. Let me know answer that question about another team having more impact players / starters on their team than the Detroit Lions, because I'm just racking my brain and I can't think of any. So leave it in the comments, stick around, hit that like button. I'll be back later with another show, guys.